believe me, it is all what? It's an association of thoughts. And who is doing that association? You are doing the association. Remember, it's not some third person who's doing it. It's I am associating one thought at a tremendous speed. This is happening. So I am giving momentum to thoughts. Will you please remember, it's not a third person giving momentum. It's I who is associating, who is supplying the fuel, who is supplying all the, material. From where am I bringing it all out? Not from outside. It's all from within me. Oh, this whole thing is coming out at this moment. So first of all, what is the mind? The mind is a continuous flow of thoughts. This is the first thing we have to understand about the mind. So the constituents is thoughts. First. Now, these thoughts, you find them sometimes in different, sometimes they are dull, sometimes they are very vigorous. Pramati, balavadram, in a stormy, and sometimes they are very keen, sharp, very, alert, a different type of this. So we'll try to understand the makeup of the mind through what we call the three gunas. Now I'll come to this, see, the throat dries, but the mind doesn't. It just goes on. Now, all of you had tea in the morning? Right. What are the constituents of tea? Milk, sugar, tea powder, and water. And if it is Gujarati tea, so many other things. Now we're not talking about Gujarati tea. A regular as people understand tea. And we won't talk of water, we just talk of the three other ingredients. Milk, sugar, and tea powder. Now, if you go to a house of a typical Punjabi in Punjab, if you have tea, what will be the main content from these three things? Milk, sure enough. They put tea powder, I think, just for color. But it's like milk, mostly. If you go to a house of a typical Keralite in Kerala, what will be the main content? Tea powder. It's really this strong. And if you go to a house of a typical Gujarati in Gujarat, chasani, it is not tea, it's chasani. Now, even though the contents are the same, the taste is different because the proportion of these three contents is different. Now, all of us, with no exception, have three gunas: Sattva guna, Rajoguna, and Tamoguna. No exception. All of us have these three. Yet, we are all different because the proportion of these three is different. Now, what is these three gunas? It's a fantastic analysis that is done in our scriptures. The Sattva Guna, the main characteristic of a Sattva Guna is knowledge. And I always, if it suits all of you, if you have a pad and a paper, it helps to note down things that touch your heart. You don't have to write down every word, of course. But it does help. Anything that touches your heart, it's something you want to remember as this, it helps. Okay. Now, so you have three. The Sattva Guna, the main characteristic is knowledge. You don't have to write down, okay? It's not a school and it's not a, but if it touches your, and if you feel like it, don't hesitate, that's all. So, the main characteristic of Sattva Guna is knowledge. Other characteristics are faith, love, compassion, brightness of the intellect, understanding, memory. All these type of qualities are what? Sattvic qualities. Sattva Guna. The main characteristic of Rajoguna is activity, pravritti. And other associated qualities are restlessness, agitation, dynamism, anger, jealousy, greed, passion, desires, etc. These are all what? Rajoguna. And the third character, the third quality, guna, is called tamoguna. The main characteristic of tamoguna is inertia, jadata. And the other associated qualities are laziness, sleepiness, sloppiness, forgetfulness, carelessness, etc., etc. You got the idea? No. Obviously, the best one is Sattvaguna. When Sattvaguna dominates, it is called Sattvic. When Rajoguna is there, it's called Rajasic. And when Tamoguna dominates, it's called Tamasic. I was teaching this to a group of young kids, in my school there, and I told them to make a joke on these three gunas. And this one guy says, so and so is Sattvic, so and so is Rajasic, so and so is Tamasic, and the fourth guy is plain sick. So now we have Sattvic is when it's predominant Sattvaguna. Now, anything and everything in the world that you do, you are displaying your gunas. Anything that you do, you're displaying, you're showing your gunas. Even the way you sit will show what guna you have. Sattvic. Could you demonstrate how Rajasic persons would sit? No? Rajasic, restless. Okay, before we go there. And you see that happening so often. There's some people, no? Oh, what is happening, They're not even aware of it. Or they have some handkerchief, they're like... we don't even understand that this restlessness of the body is a Rajasic. Okay, before we go into this also, it's not just that human beings have these three gunas. Everything in nature has these three gunas, So one of them always dominates, more of it. So could you give me an example of a sattvic plant? Tulsi is absolutely right, and that's why it's worshipped in India, A Rajasic plant? Yeah, and touch me not or something like that, which is so immediately it sort of reacts, these are all. And a tamasic plant? Absolutely right, cactus, yes. An example of a sattvic tree? People, neem. Neem is also very sattvic, banyan and all. That's why it's all worshipped. A Rajasic tree? Mango is Rajasic, sure enough. That's why Kamdev chose to sit on the mango tree. He wanted to bring karma into the, desire into the hearts of someone. He sat on the mango tree. So that's Rajasic. A Tamasic tree? Lots of them in Kathiawad. Full of that. Limbudu sattvic છે. કાઠિયાવાડમાં બાવળ bubble, કાંટાવાળા પેલા હોય. That's no. Or the palm toddy tree. You know what it does to you then. So these are all that. Now give an example of a sattvic animal. Cow, Rajasic. Monkey, all of them. And a tamasic. Lion is very tamasic, believe me. Yes, very true, very tamasic. And one of the classic examples is a buffalo. You're going on the road and you honk your car, and after 2 minutes the buffalo realizes something is around. It's really tamasic. When you're in college and school also, you find all this sort of things happening. There's some people always very alert and always very bright and, understand the smile. And there's some who are always so restless and and some are. And you tell them anything, You know. Everyone, not just students, but even teachers are like that. Sometimes the teacher comes and teaches you so beautifully in school and college, and you say, "Wow, I understood everything, and it's lovely," and you didn't know where the time went, And sometimes, when the teacher comes and everyone keep quiet and she's shouting, or he's, like, oh, isn't it? And sometimes the teacher comes and says, "You do what you want to do, leave me alone." And then someone comes and says, "I don't understand this. Don't worry, even I don't understand it. So just leave me alone." From the way you keep your cupboard and everything, you'll make out. Just open your cupboard and find out how it is. Go home and do that. Not what your mummy keeps for you, but what you keep. Some will be very sattvic. Everything nice and proper. Some will be. And some cupboard will be completely empty because everything is outside. Some people very helpful always, can I do anything for you? Yes. And some people, every time they get a chance, they, in no time they'll start. And some people, you have to push them into anything and everything. You push them, they get out, and then they're back. Isn't it? See, this is universal. This is universal. And all of us also. Sometimes you get up in the morning, and you feel so nice. You want to sit and meditate, and you feel, oh, what wonderful and so beautiful. And sometimes you get up and you see your younger brother and sister. So, get out from here. Don't look at me. And you get, isn't it? You're like crabby, and you just want to. And sometimes you get up, and most of the time you get up and say, I want to sleep back again. I don't want to get up. No. This is 5 more minutes. 5. You understand how much these 3 gunas are dominating our life. And everything that you do in life is all these 3 gunas at play. Obviously, the best guna is sattvic. The second best, of course, is rajasic, and the worst is tamasic. This is a very, very beautiful formula for being successful in life. You've seen a veena. It has those strings, and you have a guitar or any of these also, and they have these knobs. What's the purpose of the knobs? Not only tighten. You tune the veena with this, right? It's basically meant for tuning up. Now, if supposing you've loosened the strings too much and then you start playing, what sort of a sound comes out? Very bass. This is a terrible sound. You tighten it too much, and it's like a squeaky and shrieky and very, very bad. But if you tune it just, right, and then you have beautiful music. That's what they do before they start any performance. They go hours and hours, and people who don't understand, tang 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 karya kare, and even the tabla, they'll see, tang tang match for people who don't understand anything, it's all the same. You keep singing, it's okay, But then people who are sensitive, if it goes a little upper swara, they stop. They say, nothing doing. You do what you want to do, but I'm going to tune up in the middle of a performance, they just stop. And they tune it up and all that. Everything is perfect. Then it goes in the back. It's in the background. And then they're doing the performance. You think their attention is not on this, and it's only on this. But half their mind is always on that. It's well tuned up. And then they do this. Now this is, if we've understood this is a very, very important formula which we must all keep in mind, and that is the strings of our mind. How should they be? Not too loose, not too tight, just right. Loose is what? Tamasic. Tight is what? Rajasic. Right is what? Very, very important. Not to lose, not too tight, but just right. It happens to us most of the time. Sometimes you get, tell yourself, loosen up. And sometimes you tighten up. So many times it's happened in all our lives when you face situations and, things happen. You just have to, if you become aware, this is what I'm saying, whole thing is about becoming aware of the mind and how it works and what it does, then we can just tell ourselves, okay, fine, tighten up, loosen up. Too much rajoguna, too much of tamoguna, and sattvaguna. And what happens is, in the process sometimes of trying to maintain sattvaguna, we become rajasic. Does not happen. Or we become tamasic. You sit for meditation, you're feeling very nice and happy, and the eyes are closed, and all of a sudden, before you know, suthayo. Right now you are so and gone. And some people, the only time they keep their body still is when they go to sleep. એટલે meditation માં જેવું આમ થાય, the body is still and all, so auto suggestion, ઊંઘવાનો time થયો, ચાલ ઊંઘી જાઓ. And before you know, and they get up saying, I had a very good meditation session. I just, I was into meditation. But when you sat, how were you? Like that. When you got up, how were you? That was the meditation. You were sleeping, So, from one to the other, you can go just like that. Isn't it true? There is no, like you are in Sattvaguna, the next moment you could be in a Rajoguna. You're sitting there and, happy, listening, everything fine. All of a sudden you think of your enemy number one because you hear some sound which sounds like your enemy's sound. Some voice, something. And in a second, what happens? Isn't it true? So therefore, this mind shifting from one mood to the other, as we call it. And remember, everything in your life has these three gunas. Even the work that you do can be sattvic, rajasic and tamasic. A sattvic work will be done perfectly, beautifully. You see the work and there's love, care, attention, alertness in the work. Sometimes in the olden days, nowadays no one writes, I have to say olden days as though it was some centuries back. People used to write something called letters. Now who writes? It's just the mail and no one writes. And then you get this letter, which is like the address is done so shabbily, and then Mahatma Gandhi, poor Mahatma Gandhi is stuck upside down. The tape, like the ticket, and then the when you want to open the envelope, so the letter is stuck, and you have to do the Narasimha, avatar. The Narasimha avatar, he's like tore the whole thing, and then the letter comes out in pieces. Now you see what a sloppy job. So you can make out from this of yours, every act of yours, from morning to night. You see a man of perfection. We see our own gurus and all. I've seen my own guru. Everything that's done is done to perfection. There's attention. There's all. I know when we used to get a letter from Gurudev, it was like a piece of art. We just look at the letter and it talks so much to you. You think he's standing in front of me? He's talking to you. The way it's written, the address is written, the way it's talks so beautifully. I remember once some minister or something had come to meet Gurudev, and the message, he's busy. So I was inside and he was making a birthday card for a small kid. So he was cutting out a picture, perfect. Stuck it, wrote some beautiful words, put it in an envelope, wrote the address, put it there. Now I'm available for the minister. For him, that was a very, very important job. The minister could wait if he had to. So this work that is done with this sort of that's the mind. Basically, you remember when you see a person's work, it's not the work, it's the mind that's gone behind the work. So therefore, if we do all our actions, even when you are doing, for example, a sattvic karta is a selfless karta. A Rajasic Karta is doing it for name, fame, money, power. This is the motivating factor. A Tamasic Karta is doing for the sake of doing. Chalo, pata bhi nahi hai. Very often you hear even housewives saying, "Hey, ખાવાનું બધું પતી ગયું બધું પતાવી દીધું બધાનું બધું પતાવવાનું જ હોય કે જિંદગી સુધી પતાવ્યા જ કરીએ છીએ પછી કે મેડિટેશન પતાવી દીધું પ્રેયર્સ પતાવી દીધી પૂજા how can you do that, So no, it's like everything that you do is beautiful, it's important, it's with care, with love, with so much of feeling. So it's perfect. Everything that you do, then there's joy every moment of your life, as you are doing, when you're doing. So therefore, this Sattvic, I'll just give this, then we'll go ahead further, take on these different topics on the mind and this. So the formula was not to loose, not too tight, just right. And remember, all of us have these moods. There are sometimes months together when you will be in tamasic moods. They'll come more often. There are sometimes months together where you'll have rajasic. Sometimes it's the nature, the body, the time, the age, etc. So don't fight too much with these nature, okay? Because if you fight, mind is something you should never fight with. You don't have to suppress, you don't have to, we'll come to that a little later as we talk and as time permits and if this comes. But the more you fight, the more you lose. You don't have to fight, you have to understand it. That's why they say manage the mind. Don't control the mind, manage the mind. Because if you start, I'll see, then the mind says, oh, you want to see me? I will see you. You never do all that with your mind. But at the same time, when you understand, every day the same things don't work with the mind. Because it's a different mood every day. Same things will never work with the mind. Have you seen your mom, people feeding their small kids? एक दिवस के चलो बेटा પેલો કાગડો જુઓ કા કા કેવું કરે છે બોલો કા પેલો કા કરતા ફટાક દઈને અંદર નાખી દે. This is how Gurudev used to do for us, He would tell us a joke and we'd do, and fadak, the thing goes inside. All the food is put inside, Before we know, we are laughing and the food's gone right in. Sometimes this is, you better eat your food or else. Okay. Each day the mind has to be differently, because it all... But we have to remember that the mind, if it's just right, you give a beautiful performance. If you don't have a right mind, the performance goes haywire. So we'll stop right now, and now you can really loosen up a little bit and then come back again and become, because you do need, times what they call chill out times. And now this is really chilling out. The minute you go out, you're going to get chilled. So it's a real chilling out session. So you can go chill out and then come back again for the next session. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.